Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to the Football Postcast here on the Racing Post, the best place for your football preview action. My name is Jack Reeve. In the studio, I am joined alongside Mark Langdon and Dan Childs. And on the phone today is Paddy Power's finest, Jason Murphy. Gents, let's get straight into it then. It's been the international break. Mark, I'm a cliche football fan, you could say. I'm never a massive fan of the internationals, but it served up some goodness, didn't it, this time round?
Well, it did. I mean, you know, if you think to the England game, it was nice for England, just from an English sort of point of view, to see a game where the opponents, played and tried to attack. It showed some big deficiencies, I think, in Gareth Southgate's sort of side and the way that he wants them to play. Absolutely sublime going forward. But if you were doing 5 things we've learned from the international break, I mean, we didn't really learn anything new from England. I think everybody's really excited by whether it's Sterling and Kane and then either Sancho or Rashford. Doesn't overly matter. I think everybody's excited about that. It's just, at the back, even against Bulgaria and their obvious limitations, when they did put moves together, they found a way into sort of England's penalty box and, saw Pickford's, like Jordan Pickford's eyes, didn't they? So that's got to be a concern. I expect by the time we get round to the Euros, I would like to see at least Gomez in that back four. Just think his recovery pace really important. I think Stones as well. Hopefully, if he gets a good season for Man City, he could even be them too. I know Harry Maguire is a bit of a cult hero, but I'm said it before, I'm not overly convinced by him. And then it's in the midfield areas. I was surprised that Ross Barkley played both games. I know he's well liked by Gareth Southgate, but if Mason Mount's ahead of him for Chelsea, then why is he not ahead of him for England? Maddison would be an obvious one maybe as well for that position. Or you could sort of think, hold on a minute, let's be a bit sensible and stick Harry Winks in there and say we've got the front three, let's try and just shut up shop a little bit defensively. So we're heading in the right direction, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, there feels like a bit of reservation there from Mark. Dan, did you take anything from it?
I wouldn't get overly panicky about it. I think some part of the reason is it's individual errors, really, isn't it? And as Mark's mentioned, there are backup options there at central defence. You look at the 3 errors there. Keane's made a bad error. Maguire, trying to recover the situation, made an error, and that was after Declan Rice as well made a very sloppy pass. You almost wonder at times. I mean, the start of the game, first minute, whether the players haven't settled down, and then at 5-1 at half time, it's almost too easy. And I think you're going to learn more, to be honest. I think it's important that England arrange some friendlies against better opposition before they go to the Euros, because you're really not learning anything, I don't think, in these games. And credit to Kosovo as well. They really took the game to England, and England were playing on the counter-attack really for a lot of the second half, so you got to give them a bit of credit as well. And looking across the rest of the international break, Germany and Holland was the big game, and I'll be more worried if a fan of Germany at the moment, because that's a game where you are playing against a big team. You can't blame sloppiness, or kind of taking your foot off the pedal. The opponent's there in front of you, and they looked all over the place at the back. Holland, counter-attacked on them at will, and really should have been 4-1. The penalty decision, I thought, was a joke that Germany got. So,
Jason, how was the international break for you, mate?
Good results in terms of obviously being Irish. We had a very good result against Switzerland, but performances or entertainment value was pretty poor. But look, happy to get the result against Switzerland last Thursday night. It keeps us top of the group. And a very good result as well. Denmark drawn away to Georgia for us. It's a terrible game as well. The pitch was in a terrible state. It was cutting up. So Ireland's next game, we play Georgia away, and Switzerland play Denmark the same day. So if we can beat Georgia away, we're in a really good position, and that's all it's all about is just getting to that summer tournament. Especially for Ireland, we'll be hosting a couple of games as well. And like I said, the equaliser when it came late the other night, it was a great header from a Goldrick, deflected cross, but you're up out of your seat. You don't jump out of the seat. I'm a United fan. When they equalise against Palace, you don't jump out of your seat, but when it's your country like that, it does mean a bit more. So they weren't great games to watch. Watched a bit of Northern Ireland against Germany. I watched the second half basically, and Germany fully deserved the results that they got. But Michael O'Neill was saying afterwards Northern Ireland had their chances in the first half, and looking back at the highlights, they did. But yeah, no, it's great. I thought UEFA Nations League was a success when we had it, and these groups, every game kind of matters really. Well, once you're still in the running to get to the tournament next summer. So so far so good, yeah.
And Jason, by the time you get to the summer tournament, Troy Parrott would have already won the Ballon d'Or, so you won't have to. You have somebody up front who can win the Golden Boot.
Yeah, it's great to have someone to get excited about. There's a few players coming through, but Mick McCarthy, there's no better man for dealing with the press, and he spoke after the game Monday night, and there was calls for him to bring Troy Parrott in for the friendly against Bulgaria. But we actually had an under-21 qualifier away in Sweden, which was a competitive game, and we got a great result. We're 1-0 down and 1-3-1, but Mick hit the nail on the head. Like, why would you pull him out of a competitive game that could actually help to develop the team? And that's what it is. Like, he's still only young, give him a chance. But it's great to have someone to be excited about.
Mick McCarthy, what a man. Right, let's get straight into the Saturday midday fixture then. It's Liverpool-Newcastle at 12:30. Jason, what's the market looking like for this, mate?
Yeah, it's very one-sided. Obviously, Liverpool 1-8, to draw 15-2, and Newcastle 20-1.
Brilliant. And how do you think this one's going to go? Any value in this?
If you're looking for a bit of value, I think Liverpool to win 2-0 is probably what I'd be tipping up. They've started the season very well, 4 wins from 4 in the league. They've scored their 12 goals, and they've only conceded 3. And I think if Alisson wasn't injured and in the goal, they'd probably have 4 clean sheets. Newcastle got an impressive result against Tottenham with the 3 centre-backs and gave no clear-cut chances to Spurs. And they broke quite well, and they broke in numbers when they got a chance to go at Spurs, and like I said, they got the win. But this Liverpool defence, I think, is much better organised than what that Spurs defence was for that game. And I think there's more of a chance of a turnover in transition, that Liverpool will turn Newcastle over if they do break like that. And we've seen against Burnley when Ben Mee made that mistake, like, Liverpool punished it straight away. So I think Liverpool are going to win this game, and if I'm looking for a bit of value, Liverpool to win 2-0 at 4-5. If you're looking in the goal scorer markets, I think there could be a couple of changes, because they've got a game away against Napoli midweek and they're away to Chelsea the following week. So I can see the midfielders all being changed, or some of them, i.e. Milner coming in, because Henderson, Wijnaldum and Fabinho were all playing during the international break. So if Milner comes in, he's on penalties, so therefore I'd avoid Salah. Firmino was playing for Brazil there away against Peru away, so he's only back off the plane recently. So for me, there's value in Mane at first goal scorer. I'd be backing him single only though at 10-3, because like I say, with those bigger games, I'd avoid the 2 or more or the hat-trick, because if they're ahead after an hour, I think he comes off the pitch if he starts. So Mane first goal scorer, single only, and Liverpool to win 2-0.
Brilliant, sounds good. Dan, Liverpool are frightening, aren't they?
Yeah.
They'd go 5 wins from 5. They've won the last 13 games in all competitions. You just can't see past them at the moment.
No, I can't. It's a struggle actually to get a value bet, if I'm honest, out of this. You're looking at the first scorers, the obvious 3. They're all pretty short odds. The win to 0, as has been mentioned now. I mean, you can see it happening. But just something in my head that in a Premier League game, backing it odds on, I'm not really comfortable with that. So I've just gone in, just to try and boost the price a bit, and gone Liverpool 3-0 at 11-2. I just think that defensively, there was a few question marks over them early in the season. Gave up a lot of shots in the Southampton victory and conceded in that. Adrian was at fault there. He's looking a bit more comfortable now. Got the clean sheet, didn't they, at Burnley last time out. Had a bit of luck there, obviously, with the first goal to break the deadlock there. But I think they're looking more comfortable now. Newcastle, I just can't see them hurting them. I don't see where their weapons are really up front. Had that great result against Spurs. Reality check then when they're at home to Watford, who have had a poor start, 1-1 draw. I just don't see any way they're going to get anything here.
Mark, are we giving Newcastle any chance here, or is it simply going to go Liverpool's way?
I think it will. I mean, it was a great result at White Hart Lane against Spurs, but I think the backdrop of Tottenham having issues that were quite clear at the time. Liverpool haven't got any of those. They're a team that so unlucky not to win the Premier League last year. In a normal year, or even in an above average one, they would have won it. It was just that Man City, nearly 100 points again, but Liverpool won the Champions League. They're miles better than Newcastle. A bit like that, I was just a little bit concerned with the win to 0, because Liverpool have conceded consolation goals against Norwich and against Southampton and against Arsenal sort of late on. So I was just going to go correct scores, split the stakes on 3-0 and 3-1. If you do fancy Newcastle to score, I think they're sort of around about 3-1, a bit in excess of that. for their first goal to be in the second half. I don't see them scoring while the game's important, but if they are to notch, it could be like one of those consolation ones.
Brilliant. Jason, what do you make of Steve Bruce's start at Newcastle so far?
Yeah, well, listen, he was on a hiding to nothing coming in after Benitez, similar as anyone coming in after Ferguson, but he got the result. But I was told afterwards he didn't go down and celebrate with the Newcastle fans after that away result, which is disappointing. Given the squad that he has, if he keeps them up this year, I know he's got a couple of teams promoted and stuff. I think is as good an achievement as he would have achieved in his managerial career if he can keep this Newcastle squad up. Defensively, they were very good last season with Benitez, and they still have that backbone there. So he does have something to work with. But yeah, like I say, you have to give him a chance too. It's not his fault that Benitez decided to go on. It wasn't Benitez's fault either. Like you couldn't blame him for leaving. So no, definitely give him a chance.
It's going to be a fascinating rest of the season for Newcastle fans. Right, we'll have a quick break and then we'll have a roundup of the 3 p.m. Saturday fixtures.
Right, 10 seconds to promote Paddy Power Games. Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games. Advertising. It's easy when you know how. Paddy Power. Enough of the nonsense. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to the Football Postcast here on the Racing Post. Myself, Jack Grieve, Mark Langdon, Dan Childs in the studio with Jason Murphy from Paddy Power on the line. Let's get into the 3 p.m. games then. It's Brighton versus Burnley. Jason, how are we looking for this one, mate?
Brighton 11-10, the draw 9-4, and you can get Burnley 13-5.
Mark, it's been an interesting start to the season for both sides, hasn't it? Brighton kicked off with a good win on the opening day of the season, and since then it hasn't been so great. Where's your bets lying on this one?
A tricky game. I'm going to go for a draw. Brighton. I know you sent me the link to say from Opta the most short goal kicks in their Premier League.
Potter revolution.
Yeah, so I mean, Potter clearly wants them to play in a different manner. 47% possession at the Etihad. They were really proud of that. I mean, Pep Guardiola said how nicely they played football. It was 4-0, and that's Pep Guardiola is always nice to teams that open up and let Man City win. I think that they are heading in the right direction from a stylistic point of view, but their only win was against a Watford team that's currently bottom of the table. And Burnley, apart from the game against Liverpool, when they are going to be outclassed, have been very competitive. Their 2 defeats have been against Arsenal and Liverpool. They've beaten Southampton. They got a point and were unlucky, I suppose, in terms of when the goal came against Wolves, not to get all 3. So I can't go for Brighton here. The draw looks to me to be the value.
Draw for Mark. Dan, what are you thinking, mate?
I'm thinking that long term, I think both these teams are going to be all right. I think they're sort of probably finish around sort of 15th, 16th, that sort of area in the table. Been reasonably impressed by both. Burnley, the last away game, won the shot count at Arsenal and lost the game narrowly 2-1. Obviously, I spoke about the freak goal that broke the deadlock against Liverpool. And Brighton, I think, have played pretty well as well. Had the win at Watford. The loss against Southampton, they were playing all right until they went down to 10 men. 1-1 against West Ham, that dominated a lot of that game. So to cut a long story short, I think similar ability teams, I'm going to go with the draw as well.
Brilliant. Jason, Potter's start at Brighton, what have you made of that? It seemed fairly bold to sack Chris Hughton when they did.
It did, yeah. Similar to kind of Watford's decision. It's probably just bad results at the end of last season cost both managers. No, I'm very impressed with Potter. I think to back up what Marcus said there, as in Burnley have had 2 very good away performances, but I think Brighton's home performances have deserved more than the 1 point that they got. They should have got a win against Southampton. It was just a ridiculous decision that led to an early red card, and they had a disallowed goal against West Ham. I thought they were the better in that game too. I could make a case for all 3 selections in the win-draw-win market here, but for me, the 11-10 is tempting, so I'm going to go 11-10 Brighton.
Sounds good. Let's stick with you. What are we looking at for Manchester United versus Leicester?
Yeah, Man United 8-11, the draw 13-5, and you can get Leicester at 10-3. There are some injury concerns for United, Martial, Pogba and Wan-Bissaka, whereas Leicester, they can pick whatever Rodgers considers to be their best 11. United only have 5 points, but possibly should have had more. If they've missed penalties against Wolves and Palace, and they had a man advantage against Southampton there for about 20 minutes, so they should have more points on the board than what they actually have. And the look that Ole was getting with when he first started is he's not having it now at this start of the season. And for me, the best thing for United would have been missing any penalty would have been the one against PSG, because once they scored that and got through, they were on a hiding to nothing against Barcelona, and they had to give Ole the job. Whereas, if they didn't give him, we possibly could have got Allegri or maybe Pochettino. His head could have been turned in the summer. But to get back to this game, it's a top 4 game. It's a top 4 race, really. This match is all about. neither team I think is going to challenge Liverpool or City for the title. Who's ever going to finish in the top four is basically the manager that gets the best out of their squad. And for me, Rodgers at the moment is better than Solskjaer. Since he's taken over as well, Rodgers has got 1.79 points per game. So over a 38 game season, that's about 68 points, which will have Leicester in the top four race. But if you're looking for a bet, especially with United's injury concerns, I'd definitely be looking at Leicester in the draw at about 10 to 11.
Brilliant. Dan, 8-11 on Manchester United to win that. It feels short to me. Leicester have started the season relatively well, I think.
I'm going to go with Manchester United.
There we go then.
I just think that at the moment there's sometimes I just get a feeling that there's a lot of love for one team and not so much for another. And I think it's just may start to skew the market a little bit. You're looking long term. The Big Six hasn't actually changed since Leicester won the league. They're the same teams have finished in there. Man United, I think Leicester will come at them and they'll try and I think that will suit Man United. They're playing a lot more on a counter attack this year. You think of the pace of Rashford, pace of Dan James, and the game against Palace. I fancied them to struggle there because Palace were going to camp in. This time Leicester will go for United. I think United are a little bit better at the back than Leicester. Leicester obviously lost Maguire to United in the summer, and I just think United's price has got a bit too big, so I'll go with them.
Brilliant. Mark, you got to agree with me or you're...
I'm going to go with you.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with you and Jason, and the same bet really, Leicester or draw, double chance. I do take the Manchester United argument, and on expected goals early on in the season, they'd be second, and if they score the penalties, then you're looking at a very different season, a very strong start. But I also feel that in both boxes, I'm not mad on Manchester United this year. I still think they've got big defensive concerns, and in terms of the quality of striker, particularly if Martial, been struggling with injury, there's still doubts as to whether Rashford is actually going to become that, the sort of cliche 20 goal a season sort of striker. Whereas I think with Leicester, with Vardy, they have got somebody that is proven.
And a partnership with him and Maddison as well.
Yeah, I look at Vardy, I look at Maddison, Tielemans. I mean, they're getting that United team. I think the right back Ricardo Pereira is good. The left back Chilwell better than what United have got at left back. Soyuncu's come in and done very well since he replaced Maguire. I wish this game was on TV. It's going to be a fascinating pointer, I think, for the rest of the season. I'm not sort of this not better the day material, but I think I'd rather be a layer of United than a backer.
Brilliant. Jason, next up is Sheffield United against Southampton. How are Paddy Power priced up for this one?
Sheffield United 7-5, the draw 21-10, and Southampton 15-8.
How have you made of Sheffield United's start to the season? Because I thought they were one of the standouts in the Championship last season, and it seems like Chris Wilder has just started where he left off, really.
Yeah, I would have been very impressed with them, and we would have gone bigger than the market on them for relegation early doors, and would have seen a bit of business off the back of it. But we were happy that they came up and deserved to come up from the Championship last season. Very strong defensively. In the Premier League, 2 goals against Chelsea, they were easy to prevent. Henderson should have held on to the first one, and then it was a poor decision from O'Connell to try and contest the ball, and it falls for Abraham for the second goal. But Chris Wilder will put that right. I mean, they only conceded 41 goals in 46 Championship games last season, so that's a very solid base. The issue was always going to be scoring goals going forward, but for this game against Southampton, I think they will get a goal. And if they do, I think they'll win the game for a couple of reasons. Southampton have only 1 clean sheet in their last 11 Premier League games, and that was against a Brighton team that was down to 10 men for the best part of an hour. And Gunn, he's made the 4th most saves in the Premier League this season, which says to me that Southampton are giving up plenty of shots as well. So I think Sheffield United, there's doubts over Robinson and McGoldrick, but even if they go with Billy Sharp or McBurney up top, I think they'll get a goal. And if they do, I think they'll hold on and they'll win this game. So I'd be backing them to win at 6-4. And also Redmond is out for Southampton, which is a big loss too.
Mark, you with Jason?
I'm going to go both teams to score. Sheffield United have scored in all of their games so far, and look, a bigger threat than I thought they would actually up front. I do like Southampton though. I've unashamedly sort of been with Saints ever since they appointed Hasenhüttl. I think he is one of sort of outside of the obvious candidates, one of the best around in the Premier League. I think they're finding their feet now. The second half against Liverpool, when they got a goal back through Danny Ings quite late on, nearly, and probably should have got another one after that. They won at Brighton. I know that Brighton were down to 10 men. They've held Manchester United next time out. I can see why you'd rather back Sheffield United to win this game, but I'm probably a little bit sweeter on Southampton than just about everybody else. There's probably me and Ralph Hasenhuttl or Matt Le Tissier following Saints and nobody else. But I'm going to stick with them for now.
Dan, are you going to go with Chris Wilder's men and make him happy?
To that pro Southampton list, I'm going to put them up to win there. I think it's a little bit too early to get too carried away by Sheffield United. They've played with a hell of a lot of spirit, played with a lot of quality in some of their matches. I just thought that come back at Chelsea, when you go 2-0 down, it's a bit of a free hit, if you like. Chelsea, it's theirs then to lose. They concede one goal, drop a bit deeper, and they get the equaliser near the end. Sheffield United, they lost the last home game against Leicester. I just think Southampton in key areas of the pitch. You think of the likes of Danny Ings, Che Adams, Gineppo, who I've seen come off the bench, look really good. I think scored an excellent goal in the win at Brighton. I just think they've got more up top, and I'd go with them to win the game.
Well, if you're viewing at home and you're also in the Southampton fan club, then let us know down in the comment section. I want to go with Chris Wilder's boys there. Next up, Spurs versus Crystal Palace. How are we looking, Jason?
Tottenham 1-3, the draw 4-1, and Palace 15-2.
It's been an interesting start for Spurs, isn't it? They've hardly hit the ground running.
No, they haven't. They're the third best team in the league, but any of their starting 11s hasn't been their best 11 yet. And as Mark said there against Newcastle, there was issues, but hopefully those issues are behind them now. And Eriksen and Vertonghen, their future for now is sorted, at least, as in that they're not going anywhere now. And Ali was back against Arsenal as well, so I think we'll start to see the best of Tottenham going forward now. That can only improve. Apparently Pochettino has been training very hard, double sessions, with a view to a long-term benefit that maybe is affecting them short-term. But still, for this match, I'd still hold off backing them at that price. Palace are coming off the back of 2 wins, great results, but the performances, the results have to be taken in context. It was a 10-man Villa team for the last half hour, and Grealish's assisted goal there was kind of ruled out as well. And then, United missed a penalty in that game as well, that the one at Old Trafford. So I think Palace can be quite difficult here for Spurs, who aren't firing on all cylinders yet. So at that price, I'd avoid them. But I still think Spurs to dominate the game. So what I'm going to tip up is a booking. Milojlovic to be booked. It's 9-4. He's got 25 yellows in 92 games. That's about, he's about, he's getting booked every fourth game, almost every third or fourth game. But he's got 3 already this season. And if you think about it from this point of view, he's been playing international football. He's playing 2 games of Serbia during the week. If he's going here and having to play a Saturday against Spurs, he's getting to run around for 70 minutes, and Palace are actually holding on. Whether it's tiredness, laziness, or cynical, you can see him pulling a little shirt as, Lamela comes off the bench or Moura comes off the bench. So I think at 9-4, I think it's a good bet.
Into the booking market, I love it. Mark, Palace's away form though is strong. Spurs 1-3. Where are we looking at here for some value?
Definitely not in Tottenham to win the game. I think there's a few shorties on Saturday with Man City at Norwich and Liverpool, Newcastle. If you're looking for sort of the treble, the obvious one, it would be Liverpool, Spurs, Man City. But I don't think I'd be backing Tottenham in that market, just because Palace can be stubborn and horrible to play against. For
effective.
Very effective. So I was looking at Crystal Palace getting a 2-goal start. So that's Tottenham to win by no more than 1 goal. In terms of what Palace have done away from home, of course, last season they won at Manchester City. They gave Liverpool a hard game in a 4-3. They won at Arsenal. They drew with Manchester United. Of course, they've won at Old Trafford this season already. They can be stubborn. They can just make it difficult to play through them. And Tottenham, I think, are against Arsenal, showed signs of getting there. But Son was away on international duty, captaining South Korea. Kane's played a couple of matches. Lucas just had a baby. I'm not sure they're firing on all cylinders just yet.
Dan, do you think Spurs are going to turn up and get them cylinders firing?
I think they'll probably win the game. I don't think they're anywhere near the peak at the moment, but I think they're improving. I think they played a lot better against Arsenal than they did the previous game against Newcastle. I think they'll have taken a lot, because it being a derby game, not losing as well, playing well. I think they'll take a lot out of that. And I looked at the prices here. I mean, maybe there's a few worries about with fatigue for Son, but I thought he looked a bit bigger at 9-2 to score the first goal, almost double the price of Harry Kane. He's got double figures the last 3 seasons in the Premier League. I think he's a little bit underrated, so Son first goal for me.
Love the sound of that. Jason, final 3 o'clock of the Saturday. It's Wolves against Chelsea.
Yeah, Wolves 15-8, draw 9-4, and Chelsea 7-5.
Chelsea, they got their first win of the season at Norwich. Tammy Abrahams with a couple of goals there. Do you think they're going to continue and pick up some wins under Lampard?
I don't think it's going to start with this. I think, Lampard is trying to introduce youth there, which is fine. And early signs are encouraging. But for this game, I'd be tipping up a Wolves win. There's a few injury outs. Chelsea with Kante, Rudiger, Pedro, Kovacic. Rudiger, I think, will be a big improvement if he comes back in, just his experience. And Kante, obviously, is a miss whenever he's not there. Any team would miss him. Wolves are unbeaten in 10 at home, winning 6 of those games. And their last couple of results haven't been the best, but they were managing Europa League commitments against Torino, and that's fine. I'd allow them a bit of slack on that. And even that defeat against Everton, it was a poor error for the first goal. I think they still should have got a result out of that game. But yeah, they were a bit flat out against Burnley. But for me, against Chelsea in this team, I think a Wolves win is a good bet. They bet them 2-1 at home last season. And they were 1-0 up at Stamford Bridge as well. Only Hazard got a late equaliser there. If you're again want to have a little look in the book of markings, same kind of rationale here. I'd be going with Jorginho. Since he's come to the Premier League, he's got 11 yellows in 41 games, but he's got 3 yellows already this season. He's had 2 tough games there away to Finland and Armenia with Italy during the week. And like I said, Wolves are a team that'll sit back and like to break. And if Kante isn't on the pitch, Jorginho could be the man that might have to break up one of those attacks. Another little cynical foul. So he's there at about 16-5 to get booked, which I think, out of the 2 booking bets, I think that's the better one.
Dan, Wolves haven't got a win so far this season. They take on a Chelsea side who've hit a bit of form, but where can you see this one going?
I'm going to edge towards Chelsea. I'm not totally convinced by either side, to be honest. But when you see again an established Big Six club going off at quite a bit of odds against, away to Wolves, I think that's Wolves at the moment. They're not looking anywhere near as effective as last season. I mean, the draw against Burnley was alluded to there. The Man United game, really. I mean, I thought Man United had the better chance there, missed the penalty. And then they've lost the game at Everton 3-2 as well. They just don't seem as organised and as solid defensively as we associated with them last season. And the reasons for that are, the Europa League's probably got a little bit to do with it. But sometimes when you lose that organisation, it can take a little bit of time, to get it right again. You think of Burnley last season. So I just think Chelsea, Tammy Abrahams found a bit of form. I was critical of him early in the season, and I think they're a little bit overpriced. So I'll go with them.
One for Wolves, one for Chelsea. Mark, you going for the draw?
I think the draw is a runner. That's why I'm going for Wolves. Draw no bet. I just think this game might suit Wolves in that Chelsea have shown to be very open under Frank Lampard, possibly too open. They were, murdered on the counter-attack by Manchester United. And that defence, until Rudiger is back fit and, to full fitness as well, because once you've been out for a long time, it's not just coming back. You've then got to actually, get your match fitness. Zuma's having a really tough time at the moment, no doubt about that. And against Sheffield United, in that second half, Sheffield United, it wasn't a fluke that they got the equaliser. So that's a big concern for me, just sort of, how far Chelsea could possibly drop this season. In terms of Tammy Abraham, you've got some people now saying, he is the Premier League striker. His goals have come against Norwich and Sheffield United, teams that, a couple of months ago were Championship teams that we knew he could score against anyway. So until he starts doing it on a regular basis, I think there is a question mark over him. And as Jason alluded to, Wolves not only beat Chelsea last season at home, away from home, they did a really good job on them until Hazard scored a really nice equaliser. And there's no Hazard this time.
That's your 3 o'clock kickoffs rounded up. We'll go for a quick break and then we'll be back for the rest of the games.
Everything is better when it's bigger. Paddy Power's Same Game Multi allows you to combine a number of selections from a single match into one big bet. Check out the Same Game Multi tab and get building your bet. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome back to the Football Postcast here on the Racing Post. Let's get into the Saturday evening fixture. Now, as a Norwich fan, I'm slightly fearful for this one. Jason, how are we pricing up for Norwich versus Manchester City?
Yeah, we've Norwich 11-1, draw 15-2, and Man City 1-7.
Yeah, what are we thinking about this one then? Is there any value in this market at all?
No, it's Man City to win and plenty of goals for. Look, we've seen Norwich; they're very good going forward, but they've conceded the most in the league as well. 10 goals conceded so far, and look, we all know how good Man City are going forward. What adds fuel to the fire here is a couple of injury concerns for both sides at the back. Aarons is a doubt. Hanley missed the last game against West Ham. Zimmerman returned from injury, very important player, but he got injured in that game as well. So Norwich will be a bit weaker at the back than normally expected. As for Man City, Laporte is going to be a massive loss. It's kind of been Laporte plus one other at the back since he's came to the club. So what are we looking at on Saturday was probably Otamendi and Fernandinho. Fernandinho, he's always done a job when he has slipped back in there, and they kind of get away with it when it's teams that are going to dominate that. It's okay with someone who is seen as a midfielder kind of stepping into that role. That's fine. But for me, I just look for value in the goal scorer markets. Raheem Sterling, there's 15-4 out there. I'd be backing it each way. He's got 8 goals in 7 competitive games this season per club and country, if you include the Community Shield. And like I said, Norwich, there's some defensive concerns. They've conceded 10 goals already. But I'd also tip up Pukki, but I'd only tip him up any time at 5-2. It's just Man City start games really, really well. But they could switch off if they're 3-0 up in the second half. And Pukki, like I say, he's got 5 goals in 4 Premier League games already. Got 2 on the international break, scoring against Italy and Greece as well. So he's definitely, he's still in form. So I'd have look at Pukki anytime with Sterling first goal scorer if he does start.
Brilliant. The Pukki party certainly never stops. Mark, I'm thinking about taking my boots down at the weekend. Our defence is shredded. We've also lost Tom Tribal to injury. Manchester City are surely going to be coming to Carrow Road and looking for the win, aren't they?
They are, and I think the fear here is for Norwich is that they maybe don't know how to protect themselves, and we saw that at Anfield. And it's an attitude, actually, that could stand Norwich in good stead as they go on for the whole season, because already got the win against Newcastle. And you see someone like Bournemouth have managed to stay up by trading blows, and then they'll take the odd Tonkin against the big six, and then they'll, when it comes to winning them sort of home games and teams around you, they it's what they do, and they're well suited to do it. This game here, I'm going for Man City to win both halves. It's only just a shade of odds on, and I think it looks to me to be the way to get with a City team that have won both halves in all of their victories so far this season. The one they didn't was against Tottenham, when they've absolutely dominated that game for like about 89 minutes and 45 seconds, and somehow it finished 2-2. Obviously, the injury to Laporte is a big one, and when it comes to the harder games, it could be an issue, but when they're going to dominate the ball, I don't see it as a problem. And Pep Guardiola turned Mascherano into a centre-half pretty easily. Javi Martinez did it as well at Bayern Munich. So it's not like Fernandinho who's going to have been chucked in there with no practice. This is, I think, being a long-term plan. And Guardiola doesn't leave anything to chance. Norwich, if you have a look at the sort of games at home to the Championship teams last season, the good ones, battered by Leeds, conceded 4 against West Brom. There was a 2-2 against Sheffield United.
Leeds away, though.
Yeah. So I'm glossing over that. But yeah, generally speaking, they try to. The point is, they try to go at these good teams. They don't sort of care about the reputation, which I think is a problem. It may mean that one of these Big Six games pick up something along the way, but I think it will mean a good few hidings as well. One's coming.
We spoke about it earlier, Dan, but Norwich created chances at Liverpool earlier in the season. Yeah. Is there any hope here for Norwich?
No, I think they'll lose, but I think they'll go down fighting. Okay. That's probably the best way of putting it. Which goes towards my tip, which is Man City to win and both teams to score. I just think Norwich, play such, open attacking football. That's what got them promoted. I agree with Mark. I think it could help them stay up. At the end of the day, with 3 points for a win, you're far better off, winning a couple of games and losing a couple than just nicking draws here and there. So I think it's the right way to go. I think in this, against City, you could end up losing the game, 5-6-1. It is a frightening possibility. I think on the plus side, they've scored in the last 19 home league games. That's a hell of a run. I know a lot of that's in not played Man City. That's in the Championship, but got 2 against Chelsea and no Laporte. Stones may come back in, but could be short of fitness. So City to win comfortably, but maybe Norwich will get a consolation.
Let's just hope Teemu Pukki still has his shooting boots on. The first game is Super Sunday, Jason. It's Bournemouth versus Everton. How are we looking at for this?
We've Bournemouth 15-8, the draw 23-10, and Everton favourites at 11-8.
And what's your tip on this one, mate?
I think Everton, I was quite impressed with their first 11 really that's put out against Wolves. They played Lincoln in the League Cup midweek before that, and they started with Moise Keane, Iwobi, Sigurdsson behind, and Richarlison on the wing as well. And they got 4 goals in that game and kind of got their mojo back. And okay, Wolves gave them the first goal. But they still scored 3 against Wolves, so I was kind of impressed with that. And there's still 2 great full-backs in Lucas Dini, Seamus Coleman, and Fabian Delph was getting high praise on Match of the Day. And he is a quality player. He's you don't be at Man City for as long as he was unless you are that quality. So I have been very impressed with Everton. If that's going to be their first 11 going forward, Gomez as well in beside Delph, it looks really, really good. But having said all that, looking at these prices, I am tempted by Bournemouth at 15-8. Their home record last season would have them top 10 in the league. They won 8 games, drew 5. I just think they have an attacking threat themselves. Callum Wilson, King, Harry Wilson. They're still missing David Brooks, but Ryan Fraser is always a threat as well. So for me, the 15-8 is tempting. And if you're looking at the goal score markets, I'd be looking at King. There's 13-2 out there, whereas Wilson's about 9-2. It's just King is on penalties. Neither have started the season exceptionally well or on fire. But if Bournemouth do get a goal, I'd rather be on King at the slightly bigger price there.
It's the opener in the Super Sunday, Mark, but I'm struggling to get too excited for this one. I don't know about you.
I am. Yeah,
Tell me why.
Yeah, well, I think there's going to be a lot of goals. I'm going for both teams to score. Of course, Everton kicked off Super Sunday before the international break. I mean, not many teams are going to have 3-2s against Wolves, I think it's fair to say, this season. And Jason sort of mentioned that threat that Everton have got going forward. Those names look pretty decent. It's just away from home, that the 0-0 against Palace and then the no-show against Aston Villa, and it's whether that's what Marco Silva's next step is now. I mean, they've got the home form sorted out. If they want to be top 6 and beyond that, they need to start winning games like this against Bournemouth, but they haven't done it. They just haven't done it. So even last season, 1 or 2 question marks, not at home where they're very good, just on the road. So I'm going to go for both teams to score. I've lost my notes, so I can't tell you. I must have chucked them in the bin. So I can't tell you exactly how many clean sheets Bournemouth have kept since Boxing Day. But when I looked at it, I was very concerned for them. They've conceded an absolute bucket load. And in terms of the clean sheets, they've had 3, I think it is. So it was against Brighton, who obviously under Chris Hughton, just lost their attacking threat. Huddersfield, which barely counts, and Tottenham, who had 9 men, and even then the goalkeeper was man of the match. So that's 3 clean sheets, I think, since the start of February. It's all coming back to me now what I wrote down. So since the start of February, 3 clean sheets. And, that's not good enough. And Eddie Howe needs to sort it out. And he's shown no signs of being able to sort it out. So that's why I'm going for both teams to score.
Dan, your notes are on the desk. They're not in the bin. What have you got written down on there?
Similar notes, actually. I've got here written Bournemouth 1 clean sheet in 8 Premier League home games, and that was against Spurs when they had 9 men in the second half. So, yeah. So, and that goes into my... I don't think Everton are too clever at the back as well. Everyone was talking at the start of the season when they kept a couple of clean sheets, drew at Palace, beat Watford 1-0. Oh, he sorted the defence out. It was a problem last season. Then they've had the result. They were poor at Villa, really. Started the game well. As soon as Villa scored, they seemed to shrink. And then Wolves have won the game but conceded 2. So I'm not convinced by them defensively, but I'm even less convinced by Bournemouth defensively. And I think Everton have got a little bit more up front. Richarlison got his 2 goals, didn't he, against Wolves. He's a confidence player as well. You've got Sigurdsson there, Bernardo, there's some Moyes Keane now has come into the picture. So I just think close game, Everton a bit better going forward and a little bit better defensively. So Everton to win for me.
Brilliant. Right, let's rattle through the last one of this Super Sunday. I'm fairly excited about this one. It's Watford versus Arsenal. Jason, how are we looking for this?
Watford 13-5 to draw, 13-5, and Arsenal 10-11.
13-5 seems fairly long on Watford. That where's your money on this one?
For me, I'd be backing the Arsenal win. Prices didn't really move much off the back of obviously Gracia being sacked. Watford have had 9 managers since December 2013. But they seem to have a good system in place. They seem to find good players, and they've still got a very good squad there. Like I said before, Gracia's problem was probably overachieved for the majority of last season. And they lost 4 of their last 6 games at the end of last season, so it wasn't just down to the poor return from the start of the season. But if you look at the manager that they've gone to replace him with in Sanchez, they both managed 1.18 points per game on average when they were in charge of Watford. So there's no change in terms of output there. Sanchez will have a different style, but he managed Espanyol in the Liga there for a while since he left Watford, and wasn't by any ways a major success there either. So it's interesting to see how Watford do go over the longer course of the season. But for me, I'll be backing Arsenal to win this game. No internationals for Lacazette, Aubameyang or Pepe, so they should all be fresh and raring to go. If you're looking for the goal score market, I'd be looking at Lacazette. 2 goals already this season, so if he starts up top at a slightly bigger price than Aubameyang at 5-1, I'd be looking at Lacazette. He's just a quality finisher. Seeing that chance he took against Burnley where he swiveled, well taken. But just to say, I do feel sorry for Gracia. They've only 1 point on the table. Possibly could have had 5 points. They should have got a result at Everton, and I think it was Deeney had the chance, but it's basically Pickford saves it with his face. Other than that, they're probably getting a result, and that's kind of the small margins. Get sacked a couple of weeks later. But yeah, Arsenal to win this game, and have a look at Lacazette if he starts up top.
Mark, 9 managers in such a short space of time. It feels like Watford are one of the few clubs who can get away with sacking managers whenever they want.
Yeah, sort of, I suppose, sort of poor man's Chelsea, really. Chelsea do a similar thing where they're easily dispensable. I mean, there's obviously people behind the scenes that buy and sell most of the players, so it's not a case, it's a setup that's worked for them. I mean, you can't say they've reached a cup final, they've established themselves as a mid-table Premier League team in the last few years now. Maybe it'll be different this year, but I think for mid-table teams, no matter who your manager is, there will be, in that sort of, say, a 4-year period, you will have a relegation battle. It's sort of the nature of the beast that one will, eventually sort of crop up. And I think that Quique Sanchez-Flores is about the same ability as Javi Gracia. I wouldn't change my assessment of Watford on them. It's not. I don't think it's an upgrade. I don't think it's a downgrade. It's just pretty much more of the same. In terms of this game, I think there'll be a response, but they're a little bit unlucky in terms of Will Hughes missing an open goal against West Ham, albeit West Ham created a lot of chances in that game. The Deeney effort against Everton, it could be looking different. There was a handball that Newcastle scored, so I'm not sort of saying that Watford are going down this season. I like Arsenal to win by 1 goal. If you have a look at Arsenal's away form last season, all bar 2 of their wins in the Premier League were by 1 goal. This season, just edged out Burnley, didn't they? So they're a team that look like they should run away with matches, but they don't actually do it, and it seems to be very much that they just about win, probably because of their defence and the fact that they can't keep clean sheets. From Watford's point of view, very competitive at home to the Big Six last season. 4 of their games they did lose by 1 goal, so they are a team that generally don't get hammered even by the good ones. So I'll take Arsenal to win narrowly.
Damn, the poor man's Chelsea. Are you having any of that?
No, I can see the point that you've made there, and I think it's right. They don't worry so much about the longevity of the coaches. They're more interested in keeping loyal players there long term. Deeney's been there a long time. You look now, Capoue, Cathcart been there for quite a few years, and I think that's the thinking a little bit in the choice of replacement. Quique Sanchez-Flores. Those are 3 of the players that he'll remember from his last time there. If he gets them on side, it'll help him to turn it around quicker. He is more defensive, I think, than Gracia, and that, I think you wonder if they've looked at the fixtures and thought, is there much to lose? If we get him in now, it's almost like a testing ground. He's more of a defensive style coach. Two games where you're not going to cost you too many points if you because you're not expected to win them anyway, but you can put the building blocks in place of better defence, which they need. They've been keeping hardly any clean sheets. Can't think of the stat, but the clean sheet record's been awful for a long time. I think losing Deeney's been a big blow towards the end of last season, at the start of this as well. I think it's a good time for Arsenal to play Watford. Watford, like as I said, bit of transition. Arsenal got so much firepower. You look at Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe's come in now, Ceballos giving a bit more creativity. So good time for Arsenal to play. Arsenal to win for me. Simple as that is the bet.
Well, lots of support for Arsenal. Let us know if you're on Arsenal as well down in the comments section below. Monday Night Football now, 8 o'clock kickoff. It's Villa versus West Ham. Jason, what are we looking like for this?
Aston Villa 13-8, the draw 5-2, and West Ham 6-4.
Home side Villa always seem to be good at home. The atmosphere will be buzzing there. Do you think it's going to go to Villa?
No, I'd be siding with West Ham. Aston Villa, like I said, they're very similar to Fulham with all these players that they've brought in. They've invested a huge amount of money, so the pressure will start to build on Dean Smith if they don't start picking up points quite soon. In terms of next man they're sacking, we went back out with it during the week, and one of the lads in the office was saying, we'd stay quite short on Dean Smith. So we've Solskjaer favourite at 4-1, Steve Bruce 7-1, Dean Smith 17-2, but there is 16-1 out there on him. Look, they were hard done by with the late equaliser being ruled out against Palace. But their last home game against Everton, like, I know they won 2-0, but you know, it was a last minute goal to put a gloss on it, whereas Everton missed an absolute bag full of chances there. You know, that result wasn't reflective of Villa's performance. And the other game at home to Bournemouth, you know, to get Bournemouth a two goal head start, to give away a penalty, silly penalty really. So for me, I'd be quite sweet on West Ham. They've 7 points in the league so far, and they've played Man City. So, like, you know, it's 7 points really from 3 games, which is pretty good. And deserved wins, I think, against Watford and Norwich. Possibly lucky to get a point against Brighton, but they were missing Haller and Anderson for that game, and Noble too. So for me, I'd be going with West Ham with the prices that are there, and I'd be tipping up Haller there as well. First goal scorer is about 5-1. He's got 3 goals in 3 games already, and you know, we speak about his record at Eintracht Frankfurt last season. Like I said, he got 15 goals and 9 assists, whereas Jovic, that went to Real Madrid for the big money, had only scored 17 goals, only 2 goals more. Haller has been very impressed in any game I've seen. He's quite mobile, quite athletic. Quite agile in the box. So yeah, definitely have a look at him in the first goal score markets, but I'd be quite sweet on West Ham at 6-4.
Mark, I heard your colleague Liam Flynn on the Postcast a few weeks ago tearing into Aston Villa's scattergun transfer approach. Is there any love out there for Villa with you?
I'm not as downbeat as what Jason is. I mean, on another day they get something at Tottenham. They held on for a long time there. I mean, Tyrone Mings has now been promoted to the England national team. So, I mean, you know, in terms of sort of value for money there, people laughed at that, you know, or certainly people that hadn't seen Mings in the Championship were having a pop at that. But, I mean, I think he's, you know, if he starts playing for England, then you're happy to pay that kind of money for him. They did beat Everton. I mean, after they give Bournemouth the 2-goal head start, they were the better team, although it's sometimes easier to play when you're 2-0 down, that sort of, you just play with gay abandon and stuff like that. And so, I'm not mad on this game. I think it's a really hard one to call, but I am going to go for Haller to score. I know Haller was Jason's pronunciation. Haller, yes. He's a big threat. You know, however you want to say his name, he is one of. I was saying it last year on TalkSport for a long time. Somebody should buy him. He's somebody that was an absolute sort of just a menace for Eintracht Frankfurt and allowed Jovic, who went to Real Madrid, Rebic has gone to AC Milan, and Haller's ended up at West Ham. And I was thinking he was just as good as the other two, and I think he's not only a team player, he is a goal scorer as well, and I think that Villa will struggle to deal with him. Just West Ham away from home don't always convince me. Last season they weren't good enough away from home. And I need to see more than just them beating Watford before I start changing my opinion on them, sort of in terms of them winning the game.
Dan, I was really surprised with people saying maybe a top half finish for Villa this season. They finished 17 points behind Championship winners Norwich last season. Yes, they've spent a lot of money in the summer, but it felt like the expectations were slightly unfair.
I think they were way too. A lot of the supporters were talking about top half and that, and I think that was way over the top. I actually thought they're strong relegation candidates at the start of the season. I'm a little bit more, I fancy them a bit more now. I've watched them a few times this season. I think some of their new signings are doing okay. I mean, Mings was obviously there last season. Wesley, I'll get onto in a minute. I wasn't too sure about his signing, but I watched the game when he got a bit of confidence, got his goal against Everton, and he started to play really well in that game. Got man of the match, I think, in the end. And his movement, Grealish seemed to be finding him all the time. There was a partnership, struck up straight away there. I think it being a night game, and that sounds like a small point, but I think Villa at home, under the lights. I thought the atmosphere you could see just watching it on the TV, the Everton game, that they made it, as soon as they scored, they made it really, really hard for Everton. Everton struggled to play. Gomez, uncharacteristically was missing passes all over the shop, and I think part of that is the atmosphere. It's not going to be, when their tails are up, an easy place to go, and I think the prices are about right for the match result. West Ham, I went to saw the West Ham Watford game. It was a very, very open, end-to-end game. Could have gone either way, really. And Haller's his finishing really won the game for West Ham. But Wesley, Villa's centre forward, 13-2 he is to score the first goal. I think he's as likely as anyone to get the first goal here. So that's my bet.
I think the pronunciation of Haller definitely deserves a 5-star review on iTunes if you're listening in. Jason, any other markets that you fancy? EFL, European leagues, whatever you want.
If you were having a little look at the Champions League, I'd be leaning towards Atletico at home to Juve next Wednesday night at about 13-8. 7-4 for them to win the group as well. It's just I love this when you know how a team is rated in the league that they're playing in and where they're ranking, how to sit against other teams in that league. But when it comes to European competitions, bookmakers, they can find it a bit hard to rate up two teams come from different leagues, and the harder it is to price something, the more opportunity there is for punters. And for me, I think they've just got Juve rated a bit too highly in this year's Champions League. They've changed manager. Allegri's gone, very successful now. Sarri was a success in my eyes at Chelsea, but you never know how that's going to work out. You've also got Ronaldo, who's a year older, and also Chiellini's going to miss all of the group games. Now, they spent the big money on Matthijs de Ligt, but that's a lot of money and a lot of pressure on a 20-year-old going to a new country, new language. So for me, Atletico, to bet them 2-0 at home in a very important game in the last 16 last season. So at that price, Atletico have started really well. They've won 3 games in the league already. They've had a big squad overhaul themselves. Griezmann, Godin are gone, but Mario Hermoso, he's been capped by Spain now already, and Joe Felix, he's himself and Troy Parrott are future Ballon d'Or winners, let's be honest about it. So I'd be looking at Atletico there at about 13 to 8 to win it. And like I said, I expect Juventus to struggle for those couple of reasons. So Leverkusen are also in that group, and have started the Bundesliga quite well. And if you look at the price they're going off, away to Dortmund this weekend, so obviously we know how to rate Dortmund. Leverkusen are probably about 3 to 1 shot away to Dortmund, so they're actually, they're in pretty good shape. So Leverkusen at 7 to 2 to qualify out of that group is probably worth a look as well.
Brilliant. Mark, are we going anywhere exotic on your next pick?
Just to say that Jason has actually done a Champions League piece for the Racing Post, and that will be on racingpost.com on sort of Thursday night and in Friday's paper. In terms of what I like this weekend, in the EFL, I think that Crewe are going very nicely, so I'll go for them to beat Colchester. I like not Colchester, Cambridge. Cambridge, of course, lost one of their best players, Giovanni Brown, to Colchester.
Covered.
Yeah, just about. I like QPR to beat a Luton team that's come a long way in a short period of time, and then at a bigger price, Bristol City at Stoke. Stoke in a horrible run of form, 3 wins in 29 since Boxing Day. The pressure's on Nathan Jones. So I think Bristol City may be able to just turn that screw a little bit more. In terms of Europe, Villarreal away to Leganés. Villarreal have played better than results suggest so far. Leganés haven't got the attacking ability to hurt Villarreal like other teams have managed this season. And I think if you're looking for a nice little accumulator, Paris Saint-Germain have got Strasbourg. I think they'll win very easily. Napoli to beat Sampdoria. Inter at home to Udinese, Inter rejuvenated under Antonio Conte, and their city rivals Milan can bring it home on the Sunday night. They're away to Verona. I quite like what Milan have done in the transfer market.
Considering you haven't got your notes, very well remembered there. Dan, what about you, mate?
Domestically, I've got there's a shorty. The shorty that I like is Swindon at home to Macclesfield. Swindon improved their attack a lot with Jerry Yates coming in on loan from Rotherham. Got 4 goals in 4. Owen Doyle's coming from Bradford on a permanent deal. Got 5 goals in 5 games. They're a title contender. I think Macclesfield started well. I think they might struggle to keep it up though under Daryl McMahon there. I think Swindon are a good solid short price favourite there. The outsider I would look at is in the Championship as well is Nottingham Forest away to Swansea. I think they're pushing sort of 3 to 1 mark, and when I look at Forest, they've gone and got gone to Leeds, got a draw at Leeds, gone to Fulham, won at Fulham. They're probably arguably the 2 toughest trips in the Championship already. They've got a strong squad. Swansea, I know they've started really, really well at the moment. Got that great result at Leeds last time out. Just want to see a little bit more before I'm going to hang my hat on them. Definitely finishing top 6. I'll just take a chance on Forest there. Looking internationally, I would go Mallorca in La Liga.
I like going to Mallorca as well.
Mallorca's a nice place, but it's not such a nice place for visiting teams. They've got traditionally, when they're last in La Liga, always got the bulk of their results at home. They've come up last season, 15 home wins, 4 draws, 2 defeats. So the home form's still there. They've had a home win already this season against Eibar 2-1. They're at home to Athletic Bilbao, who are another team I think that you fancy them a lot more when they're at home than when they're on the road. At home, they've already beaten Barcelona, got a late winner, beat them 1-0 this season. Away from home, last season, they've had 4 away wins out of 19 last season away from home. So they're not a team to trust on the road. Mallorca at 5 to 2 looks big to me.
This is my favourite part of the week. Let's get into our naps.
This will not be beaten.
Lovely, love that. Jason, what's your nap of the week, mate?
I'm going for Sevilla to win away at Alaves. Lopetegui, who was the Spanish manager, unfortunately at Real Madrid last season when he took over, but he's doing off to a good start with Sevilla. 7 points from 9 games. Should be 9 from 9. They scored with 10 minutes left at home to Celta Vigo last week, but Denis Suarez caught them sleeping and got an equaliser in that game. But away to Alaves, who Albelardo, who's performed a miracle there for a year and a half when he was in charge, decided to walk away during the summer. They've got in Garitano, who was sacked by Sociedad last season. They're still quite strong defensively, Alaves, but I just think Sevilla, with all their summer signings and the start they've meant to the season, that 10-11 to go and win at Alaves, I think is a very good bet.
Dan, what's your nap?
I'm going to go with, Mark mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, QPR at home to Luton. QPR really like this season. Got a couple of attacking midfield players that have come through the ranks there. Aberi Eze and Elias Chair, who've done well on loan at Stevenage last season. They're supplying a lot of the goals for Jordan Hugo, who's coming on loan from West Ham. Got 5 goals. He's up there with the joint top scorers this season. QPR, you look at, they've already got 10 points, which is 6 more than they had at the same stage of last season. Their losses, they lost to Swansea 3-1. They won the shot count 23-10 in that game. And the Bristol City lost 2-0. They won the shot count 15-9 in that game away from home. So even when they've lost games, they're playing well. Luton won at Barnsley 3-1 to end a poor start to the season. They got a 2-1 win at home to Huddersfield as well. They're 2 teams that are having a bad time. I'm still not convinced Luton are going to finish any higher than sort of the bottom third of the table. So QPR to win this one.
Mark, let's finish with you, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Crewe, flying high in League Two. 5 wins in 7. This is not a fluke run. If you go back to the second half of last season, they were the best team over the last 23 matches in League Two. So there's just a continuation of what they did from sort of January onwards last season. Cambridge, they're good defensively, but just no quality in the final third. And 1 goal should be enough for Crewe, but they're scoring 2 and more plenty this season already.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for watching. I'm sure if Jason's feeling kind, he'll put that up as an enhanced treble over on Paddy Power. That's it for this week. Please do join us again next week, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log into your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.